Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. One Chicago crossover episode 2025, date revealed as NBC shakes up the schedule. More details about the One Chicago crossover episode have been revealed. As Monsters and critics reported, NBC announced a huge crossover for Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, and Chicago PD. For the first time in years, the three Chicago-based shows will deal with the same event on the same night. This event television for NBC was a fun way to have characters from the three shows intermingle during one big night. For the upcoming 2025 One Chicago crossover episode, we will finally see the action play out over 3 hours again. The good news for viewers who typically only watch one or two of the Chicago shows is that this is a standalone event you won't have to study for. What is the 2025 One Chicago crossover? The 2025 One Chicago crossover revolves around a massive explosion in an office building. It will force the different first responder branches to work together. TV promos for the new crossover will be revealed late in January 2025. When are the 2025 One Chicago crossover episodes? NBC announced that the One Chicago crossover episodes arrive on Wednesday, January 29, 2025. But that's not all. The schedule for that Wednesday night will experience a shakeup to help with the storytelling. On January 29, the evening begins with Chicago Fire at 8/7C, Chicago Med comes on second at 9/8C, and the night ends with Chicago PD at 10/9C. This new schedule appears ready for Fire to deal with the explosion, for Med to treat the resulting patients, and for PD to investigate what has happened. Check out the video below for an idea of what a One Chicago crossover event looks like. This is the teaser trailer from the October 2019 event. See if you can spot older characters who have moved on to other things. More news from the One Chicago shows. Here's when the winter premieres drop for Med, Fire, and PD. The long winter hiatus is already underway, but luckily, new episodes have already been filmed for early 2025. Chicago Med has threatened to kill off Sharon Goodwin. The fall finale ended on several huge cliffhangers, leaving questions about how the first new episodes of 2025 will play out. A set photo from the One Chicago crossover was shared. One of the Chicago Fire stars posted it on social media, raising interest for the upcoming event. As a reminder, Med, Fire, and PD crossover on Wednesday, January 29. The skyline of Chicago stood as a jagged silhouette against the rosy hue of dawn. For the members of Chicago's finest, whether they fought fires, saved lives, or pursued justice, it was shaping up to be just another chaotic day in the Windy City. But this time, chaos came knocking on every door. Firehouse 51. All right, listen up. Battalion Chief Wallace Bowden's voice echoed across the common room. The team, including Kelly Severide, Stella Kidd, Joe Cruz, and Sylvie Brett, crowded around him. We've got a citywide incident on our hands. Multiple high-rise fires reported in downtown Chicago. It's not an accident. Joe Cruz exchanged a worried glance with Severide. You mean arson? Bowden nodded grimly. And that's not the worst part. Intelligence suspects there's more to this than just fire. They're calling in everyone. Firehouse 51, Med, PD. We're all in this together. Let's move. The team scrambled to gear up, their banter replaced by tense determination. Stella squeezed Severide's arm before they parted ways. Be careful out there, she said softly. You too, he replied, his eyes lingering on her for just a moment longer than usual. Chicago Med. Dr. Will Halstead barely had time to sip his morning coffee before chaos erupted. Stretchers flooded the emergency room as patients poured in, coughing and covered in soot. Dr. Ethan Choi, now back in full swing after returning from military duty, directed traffic like a battlefield commander. Dr. Crockett Marcel worked to stabilize a victim with severe burns, his usual charm replaced by unflinching focus. Reports are coming in that some of these fires were set deliberately, Will said, glancing at Sharon Goodwin, the hospital's administrator. Sharon's face hardened, and there's chatter about potential chemical agents. We need to be ready for anything. Coordinate with CDC protocols immediately. In the corner, Dr. Hannah Asher noticed a young girl clutching her doll, her eyes wide with fear. Ignoring the chaos for a moment, she knelt beside the child. "Hey, sweetheart. I'm Dr. Hannah. You're safe now, okay?" The girl whispered, "My mommy's still in the building." Hannah's heart clenched. "We'll find her, I promise." Chicago PD. At the 21st District, Sergeant Hank Voigt stood with his intelligence team around a digital map of the city. Red dots marked the locations of the fires, and there was a troubling pattern. "This isn't random," Detective Jay Halstead said, his finger tracing the lines connecting the dots. "It's like they're targeting specific areas." Kim Burgess frowned. "But why? What's the connection?" Adam Ruzick pulled up recent surveillance footage. "Check this out. This guy, hoodie, backpack, he's seen near 3 of the sites just before the fires start." Voigt leaned in, his sharp eyes narrowing. "Let's pick him up. We need answers before more people die." Just then, Kevin Atwater's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his face paled. "We've got a bomb threat at a downtown high-rise." Voigt's voice was steel. "Move out." The intersection. As Firehouse 51 battled the infernos raging through the city, Severide and Kidd found themselves at the high-rise Atwater had mentioned. Flames roared around them as they ascended the stairs, searching for trapped civilians. "Severide, over here," Kidd shouted, pointing to a locked door. From behind it came the muffled cries of a woman and child. Severide swung his axe with brutal efficiency, breaking it down. Meanwhile, Atwater, Burgess, and Ruzick were combing the lower floors for the suspected bomber. "Split up," Atwater ordered. "We'll cover more ground." Burgess's radio crackled. "Found him," came Jay Halstead's voice. "North stairwell. He's got a detonator." Jay cornered the suspect, his gun drawn. "Don't move," he barked. The man smirked. "You can't stop it now." "Watch me," Jay growled, lunging forward to wrestle the device from the man's grip. Above, Severide and Kidd barely managed to get the woman and child to safety before the building groaned ominously. "This place is coming down," Kidd shouted. From the street below, Cruz looked up in horror. "Severide, Kidd, you need to get out now." Just then, the bomb detonated. The fallout. The explosion rocked the city, sending debris raining down like fireflies. Med's emergency room overflowed as victims were rushed in. Sharon Goodwin coordinated the triage while Ethan and Will worked side by side in a frantic race to save lives. Crockett and Hannah operated on Severide, who had shielded Kidd from the blast at great personal cost. At the precinct, Voigt interrogated the bomber, who was surprisingly willing to talk. "You think this is over," he sneered. "This is just the beginning." Voigt's jaw tightened. "Then you'd better start talking, or you won't like how this ends." The man's chilling smile didn't falter. "You can't stop what's coming." The resolution. In the days that followed, the teams worked tirelessly to piece together the bomber's motives. Intelligence discovered that the fires and explosions were part of a larger plan to create chaos and divert attention from a high-stakes heist targeting the city's financial district. Firehouse 51, Med, and PD joined forces to thwart the criminals in a climactic showdown that tested their courage, ingenuity, and trust in one another. The aftermath. As the dust settled, the city mourned its losses but celebrated its heroes. At Molly's bar, the teams gathered to share a quiet moment of camaraderie. Severide, his arm in a sling, raised a glass. "To all of us, still standing. Still fighting," added Kidd, her smile warm despite the shadows in her eyes. "To Chicago," Voigt said gruffly, his voice carrying the weight of 100 battles. As the glasses clinked, the camera panned out, capturing the resilient spirit of the One Chicago universe, a reminder that no matter the odds, they would always rise together.